So just a little bit about virtual programs here. In the past, pre-pandemic, Ohio State's education abroad offerings actually mostly came in the form of programs that actually traveled abroad, though we did have a few virtual offerings still in the mix. When the COVID-19 pandemic began to shut down our international travel in 2020, we started to pivot our focus just a little bit more strongly to expand our virtual program offerings just to meet the quickly growing demand. We're seeing students more and more often just wanting to have these global experiences, even despite the inability to travel. Ohio State actually now offers many more virtual options, including internships, virtual courses, and projects. These virtual programmings have just really offered some dynamic and flexible experiences to our students. And even though we're seeing travel, really starting to ramp back up, we do have some programs heading out the door for spring break. We have some people abroad for spring semester this year. These virtual programs are actually going to continue to supplement the international experiences of Ohio State students. So virtual has been a wonderful tool for us during the pandemic, but we've also realized that it's had so many great benefits for students even beyond, COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm sure I could sit here all afternoon. I could talk to you about the impacts that virtual programs have had on our students, but I'm actually pleased to introduce our 4 panelists today. We have Cooper, Maddie, Hattie, and Bayan. So first of all, thank you for being here today. I guess just to start off, would you each tell us a little bit, just briefly about yourself, maybe your year, your major, and the program that you completed? Cooper, let's start with you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me today. It's awesome. I've wanted to talk about my experience for a long time now. I just had the best time with the company that I worked for last summer. But like I said, my name is Cooper Lilquist. I'm a second year at Ohio State studying management information systems with a minor in French. And I participated in the virtual Fisher Global Internship with a small cybersecurity startup in Dublin, Ireland last year called Ida Secure Technologies. And it was just about an 8-week program abroad. And I learned so much from that experience.
Great, thank you. Bayan, let's hear from you next.
Awesome to be here. My name is Bayan Rasul. I'm a second year. My major is TESOL, which is teaching English to speakers of other languages. I was a part of ISA Global Remote Internship. I worked with a company called Abroader in Vietnam, and I worked with another company within them called EV Academy, and we taught English to students who don't speak English in rural Vietnam.
Great, thanks, Bayan. Maddie?
Hello, everyone. My name is Maddie Rydal. I'm a third-year biomedical engineering major. I participated in the engineering service learning course that was focused in Guyana. And my course was a virtual experience, which means we didn't travel to the country, but we did come into classes and still participated in the service learning part of the course.
Thank you. And Hattie?
Hi everyone, very glad to be here. I'm a junior studying finance and econ, both in art and science and Fisher. I'm also part of this cohort. Last summer, I had a blast in both the Virtual Fisher Global Internship and the Virtual Fisher Consulting Project, where I work with the Underwriters Laboratories with their both Chicago team and Singapore team as a strategy and portfolio innovation intern. And for the consulting project, I work with South Africa, Cape Town, nonprofit called Ocean Pledge.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. So the way our panel is going to work today, as you know, we actually have a couple prepared questions for you. If you're in our audience this afternoon, please feel free if you have questions for any Q&A. My colleague Rebecca is here behind the scenes. She's going to help manage any of your questions and comments. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. So first, what has your experience, what impact has your experience had on your personal life, professional, academic, either at Ohio State or beyond? Maddie, let's start with you on this one. I know you had sort of a different experience, not having an internship, but actually a course.
Yeah, so my course was, as I said, a service learning class, which means that we worked on a project all semester, and then by the end, we normally would have traveled to the country and implemented the project we had been working on. But we didn't have that experience, so we did something more remote. But we did have one day in the class where we got to speak with the people from the towns we were helping in Guyana, which for me, that was the biggest impact I got from the course, because we got to speak with the people we were helping and got to see, you know, all of the work that we had done the whole semester. And I got to see my engineering skills being put to use for the course. And that really helped, you know, it made a huge impact on my professional and academic career.
Diane, let's hear from you on this one.
Okay, so I did something called a broader, which is a part of the ISA program. You get to pick kind of like, it has so many options. So you get to pick what area you want to work in. So I obviously did education. In the summer, I taught English. I had 2 classes where I was the teacher and I had my own group of students. It was really fun to kind of see what my future was looking like. And I was trying to like, you know, decide like if this is what I want to do and teaching abroad and stuff. And it was definitely a stepping stone into that direction. And then professionally wise, like the mentors I worked with, I'm still talking with, and they still are helping me out with like next steps after college. So I'm really excited. It was a great program.
Cooper.
Yeah, as someone who has wanted to work abroad or have an internationally focused career, this program was so perfect. It was my first experience working with, I guess, a real company outside of high school jobs. And especially after freshman year, has made a real difference on my resume and has given me some great talking points and experience in interviews. And I've used it as a springboard into other opportunities. Like this summer, I'll be going and doing the consulting project that I know Hattie participated in. And so just using that experience to get other experience has really helped me out. And it really opened my eyes to how business works abroad and the different customary aspects between meetings and other things like that.
And Hattie, let's hear from you.
Yes, I having an international background, so being able to stay that way in OSU to become a global citizen, to participate different project in different continent is something that I was very surprised that there are so many opportunities here at Ohio State. And especially for last year, because the pandemic, there's a lot of limitation for traveling, but to be able to go virtual, to have those kind of global options, while being in the comfort of Columbus or your home state or home country, it's definitely a great choice. And it really helped me a lot. Like I said, I am a business student, so I'm very interested in participating more business consulting related internship. And I would definitely say both the global internship experiences and the consulting project really helped me as a junior to find my future internships, because I learned so many amazing working with an international company, working with both the Singapore and Chicago team, and working with nonprofit that really kind of like broadened my horizon. And as you guys may know, like a lot of time when you're going to interview, like you're asked about behavioral and situation question. And I would say definitely both of the projects just helped me so much to gain this kind of acumen and story.
Great, thank you. I mean, this is just really excited to hear that, you know, I feel like I've heard that people think that virtual is such a passive experience, you know, something that you're missing out on an experience of actually being in person. But each of you have just said how it's had an impact on you, your future, your career, and helps giving you a little bit more direction. So thank you for sharing that. So next, I'm curious to hear a little bit more. So tell us some of your interactions, either with the partner organization we're working with, locals abroad, other students. Hattie, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, so I will start with the UL. So that's about like 8 to 10 weeks. The interesting thing is because I have another OSU students working with me in the Chicago office. So we will have like normally 9 or 10 a.m. meeting. But I'm also working with the Singapore team, which is like because we have like 12 hours difference, and normally we'll have meeting 8 p.m. But it's not like we're like working 12 hours a day. It's more like the work is spread out to the morning and the evening, and to be able to work with not only like OSU student and MBA student all over the world, because your partner kind of like give you kind of a chance. It really helped me to kind of like learn how to build a teamwork together and like be able to generate a report and present to 100 of people at the end of the internship. As that's something that I'm very surprised in the short time frame how much we can accomplish. For the consulting program, because I'm very like eco-conscious person, to be able to work with a kind of a nonprofit nonprofit groups that like help solve the plastic waste in South Africa, and to see actually our suggestion made an impact to the organization and the health and ecosystem in the South African region was very rewarding, and you can really see like people's passion because like all the teammates, we only have interactions through virtually, but we just have a blast like talking and working together.
Great to hear. Oh, Cooper, let's hear from you. You had, the same sort of Fisher internship as Hattie, but I know you had a very different experience. Tell us about yours.
Yeah, mine was way more individualistic, where I had a meeting every single week with my manager. She would give me a task of tasks to do every week, and we'd have like little check-ins every now and again throughout the week, some email pings and that. But when I would get to these meetings once a week, the first time I expected to sit down and get right to business. Like, we're going to talk about all these goals that we're going to do and all that. And we ended up talking about the weather and like politics and just life for probably 45 minutes. And then we had 15 minutes left to discuss what I was actually going to do. And that really caught me off guard to begin with. But I built such a good relationship with my manager because of that. And every single week we would recap what happened the previous week, fun things we did over the weekend. I went on vacation for 1 week and was doing my work in the car, and we were having a chat about where I was going, and just like it really helped foster a great relationship between me and my manager, not getting into business right away. And that was something that I didn't know or understand was different around the world. So that was the main takeaway for me, is that you don't always have to sit down and get right to business. And I've applied that to a lot of different aspects of my life as well. When I meet friends and interviews and stuff like that, just talking to people as people rather than just getting the business deal done was a really big lesson that I learned.
Very cool. And Cooper, have you actually seen when you've tried to implement sort of this new skill, what sort of reactions from others have you gotten?
Yeah, in interviews, when I've done it in other like more professional situations, they actually kind of get like taken aback a little bit, because they're not expecting it as well. They expect to get right into business, but I feel like it's a good way to break the ice as well. And it's made me more comfortable in interview situations, especially just kind of relaxing and treating it as a conversation versus an actual interview. So it's funny to see when I bust out questions about, oh, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, did you have like fun? Like, do you have any vacations recently? Like, seeing business professionals kind of be like, oh, that's odd. That's always been kind of fun.
Absolutely. That can sort of be a distinctly non-American trait, just not getting straight into business. I love that. Diane, let's go with you next. What was your experience?
I had such a fun experience with the partners and locals. So in my program, we were technically a part of an organization called The Broader, and that was based in Vietnam. And there was like a group of, I would say like maybe 15 or 16 of us interns, and then about the same amount of local buddies, so another 15 or 16, and we were like a whole group of people. All the interns were working on different projects. So we had a bunch of engineering students, business students, and everyone else. There was just a whole bunch of like a mixing pot of a bunch of people. And then we would be working with the broader team, like for social events. It was like nothing serious. We would have like cooking days. We had a talent show. We did like a virtual talent show. And it was a lot of just experiencing different cultures. They got to show us fun places in Vietnam. We were able to show them a couple of places in the US that were very popular and stuff like that. So working with a broader specifically was just a more fun experience of just getting to know you. And then another organization that I actually like, the second organization or the company that I worked with was EV Trust Academy, and working with them was more on the professional side. So we would meet after our lessons and we would talk about our lesson plans for the next day. We would break down, what happened, the positives, what students we should be focusing on, and stuff like that. And that was also really, really fun. And then again, the people I met at abroad are like, I'm still in a group chat with them. We're still talking, we're still friends. And it's just a lot of meeting different students in the US, and just, it was a really great experience overall.
Great, thank you. Maddie, let's hear from you.
So my program was a class again, and the classes were pretty small. There were only probably 11 of us, and we just worked every day, worked on learning about the country and working on our project. But we also got to get close with the professor who was from Guyana. And so he kind of gave us a different perspective as the professor, kind of teaching us through the projects, but also, teaching us how this is going to impact the people that live in the country we were helping. And as I mentioned before, we also had the video call with the people from Guyana, and that was a really cool experience. We did this one side project to kind of compensate for not being able to travel. We worked with a local community garden, and so we traveled locally in Columbus and implemented our project in the community garden as well as in the towns in Guyana. So we got to kind of see on a smaller scale what our work was doing. And, despite not being able to travel to the country, I still made some really valuable connections and had some great interactions with people.
Very cool. It sounds like each of you have not only acquired new skills, but you've also able to have that cultural component of working with others who are different than yourself, and just being able to recognize some of the strengths that other people can bring to a group and what you can actually bring back to your work here at Ohio State in the US. So that just, it makes me warm inside to think about just how much cultural competence that each of you have gained through your experiences. So I know a lot of people, when they ask like, what are you doing in like a virtual internship, a virtual class? I'd love if each of you could run through just what your typical day was, either in your internship or your class. Maddie, let's start back with you on this one.
So our class days kind of altered based on the time of the semester, if that makes sense. So we kind of had 3 phases. The first phase was just learning about Guyana, learning about the people and the culture, and doing some activities that would help us kind of embrace the culture. We played like cricket, and we had some food, and it was really cool. And then the second phase was more professional and personal development. So we had the Office of Diversity and Inclusion come in and do some kind of icebreaker and kind of have some conversations that may have been uncomfortable or new for people, but it really helped us kind of see, there are a lot of other people in this world that aren't like us, and that's okay, and we can all learn how to work together, and that was really cool. And then the third part was working on our actual project, which we worked on making a portable solar panel, and first describing how to assemble it, putting it all together, and then we recorded a video for the people of Guyana so that they could make it themselves, since we were unable to travel there and help them do that. So that was really cool.
Could you expand on that a little bit? I'm curious to know, so typically if you would have been able to travel there, you would have been to show somebody in person how to do something, but used video instead. How successful was that?
I'd say pretty successful. We went and used the Digital Union, which I didn't know existed before this class, and we recorded. We each took turns recording different parts of the video, just explaining kind of the math behind everything, and then the components that you needed to use to make the kits, and then how to put it all together. And then we sent each of the videos off to someone, and they edited it all together. And now this video exists for forever, so it could be transferred to other courses like this, and not just for the people in Guyana who we are helping.
Great. Love digital resources. They're so great to have, especially in these times. Cooper, tell us about your typical day.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, my experience was pretty individualistic, and I'll think it's better if I give an overview of my whole week to start. So I had another job as well over the summer, and so I had to block off like 4 days for that, and then 3 days for my international experience, and that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I had all my meetings on Monday morning, just because of the time difference. I would usually wake up around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and hop on a meeting and get right to it. And first of all, have that 30-40 minutes of just kind of catching up, and that really started my day well. And then we would debrief on just tasks for the week and stuff like that, and then Claire would let me go, and then I would basically spend the rest of Monday and Tuesday doing different types of market research and different types of technical research to find out. I worked more as like an executive assistant, just because I was a freshman and I couldn't get in like nitty gritty with the code of their cybersecurity platform, but I was able to look at it and use the knowledge that I had to understand it, which I think was the most valuable. I wasn't sitting there coding, but I was seeing what professionals did and like how they coded, which was super interesting to me, because it's such an interesting world, and it is something I had very minimal experience with until last year. And so seeing how people who have devoted their lives to that practice go about their day and go about coding these huge systems that basically protect businesses from getting like attacked by cyber threats, like that was super interesting. And then usually by the end of the week, I'd have most of my tasks finished up. I'd ping Claire on Slack or just on Outlook, and I'd let her know, and she'd review them and then send anything back to me that needed to be updated. Or if she had more tasks for me, then she'd send them to me usually by midday Tuesday, early Wednesday, and that's how I'd spend the second half of the few days I worked.
Hattie, let's hear from you next. What's your typical day?
Yes, I will start with, so after you got in either the consulting or the global internship project, you were able to add a spring session 2 classes, which is taught by Dominic from the official global offices. And I always say, even though it's just like less than 3 credit hour, just 1.5 credit hour, is one of the most informational class I ever had in Fisher, because it really tells you both the cultural differences and work life, how you approach emailing your boss, how you started kind of like your internship with a bang, and how to kind of like confirms the ins and outs every week to make sure that the communication are fluent. So with those kind of learning and beginning for the internship, I would say it's a really kind of like smooth sailing. For the UL, for the Chicago team, so I was evaluating M&A opportunities in new mobility industry by conducting competitive analysis with target across the globe. So for that part, it's working very much like what Cooper said, very individualized. I meet with my supervisor like once a week, and mostly using IBIS and different data points to kind of like talk to directly and give my research back to my supervisor. But for the Singapore team, I was able to work with like one of OSU alumni and 3 MBA students in Singapore. So it's very global perspective there. And you can say like different cultural they work very differently. You have to be very punctual, like 5 minutes early, and like every email, like you receive a lot of email, you receive a lot of pushback on a lot of details. So that's kind of how like Singapore work culture can are, and to be able to have like kind of multiple input are super useful during my upperclassmen years. Group project and internship searching as well. And as far as the consulting project, and it's just a blast. So the nonprofit consulting project normally just lasts 2 to 4 weeks. And in that timeline, because I'm working with Ocean Pledge, which is they're trying to change the perceptions and behavior of Cape Town's restaurant for not using single-use plastic. And we got the chance to get to know South Africa as a country. Like, what's their feel like? How do you say hello in South African language? To kind of really first get into the cultural aspect and to try to give a solution into the local restaurant community and to solve an eco-friendly problem. So, and to be able to work with great partners and great team is such a like rewarding projects going on.
It feels so cool to me how much you can accomplish, even never, being in person with somebody else. Thank you, Hattie. That's very, very cool experience. Bayan, what was your day-to-day like?
It was really, really fun. So I was a English teacher. I had 2 classes. My classes ran at 7 to 8 a.m. and then 8 to 9 a.m. For their time, it was PM the next day, or no, the same day, sorry. PM the same day. So it was nighttime for them. They had already had all their fun. So it was really fun just hanging out. My students were 11 to 12 years old was the range I had. I would wake up in the day. It would be like really, really early. And I would start out kind of with Zoom, make sure my translator was on site with me and stuff like the translator wasn't it was just kind of like a back safety if I ever needed one. So it was really cool to just know that, don't worry, they've got us. But I would just teach my lesson depending on what kind of plans I had. I would do a lesson, would say one lesson would be Monday and Tuesday, another lesson would be Thursday and Friday, Wednesday and Thursday, and then we would have a really fun day on Friday. I took them again because they were on my screen. It was even more fun for me. I took them around my neighborhood. I was able to like show them different areas of like, different tools. Like we had like a day where they were giving me directions and they made me walk all around my neighborhood, and it was really, really fun to just be able to interact with kids and stuff like that. So that was one of the favorite. And then after my classes, I would have like 15 minutes, really short, talking with our advisor teacher has like other teachers with her. So we had a conference with other teachers and we would talk about different ideas, kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And then every other Thursday nights from like 9 to 10, we had a cultural day with a broader, and we just did a bunch of things, from community activities to a food day to just whatever we had. It was really cool because I had a job, so I was able to still do my job, in between those time slots. I still was able to do any summer courses I needed to do. It was like a lot of just, the lesson planning and all of that was like on my own time with whenever I needed to. So it was a lot of fun.
The flexibility piece with virtual is just comes in really nicely sometimes. Bayan, if I can ask you a follow-up question, just from a cultural standpoint, I'm curious to know, so you've obviously been trained in the US with a US teaching style. Did that give you any troubles teaching to Vietnamese students?
It was very interesting because, again, like Cooper said, like in the US, you're so used to just starting the lesson or just getting into the work, but you can just tell that in a different culture, they're like, nope, we need to have fun. So like I had to designate 10 minutes of just hanging out and just having fun with the kids and like just talking about their day and stuff before actually like focusing in on the lesson. And it was a lot of, the kids have been in this program for multiple years, so they knew the deal. They've always done it virtual even before COVID and stuff like that. So it gets you like, you're not really scared on the virtual end because these were 12-year-old experts on Zoom. But it was really, really just interesting to learn certain words. They taught me Vietnamese on Friday and I would teach them English. Our deal was, I would learn Vietnamese on Friday. They would learn English on the other 4 days. So it really teaches you how to adapt to certain situations.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right, I'll keep this moving. So what advice would you give to any students who are maybe considering a global experience? And then feel free to add in, especially if somebody's maybe feeling hesitant about virtual. I hope that after your responses on these last 3 questions, maybe anybody who had some reservations are feeling a little bit more amicable to it. But Maddie, let's start with you on this one. What advice would you have?
My advice would just be to do your research and don't be afraid to reach out with questions. Like the team is always willing to be there and help you, walk you through everything. And there's a course out there for everyone. Like, I came into this honestly not wanting to travel for a whole semester, and I chose the course I did because the travel was canceled, because I still wanted that experience of working on a project and doing something meaningful, but not wanting to be away from here a whole semester. And I was able to find that course, and I asked questions, I was given help, and I don't regret taking the course. So definitely, if you have a question, reach out, and there's something here for all of you.
Great. Maddie, I guess a follow-up question for you. Is there anything you wish you had known prior to enrolling into a virtual global course?
Maybe that these courses do focus on, getting you accustomed to the culture and the people that you're working with. I wasn't too sure before I took the course. Like, I have no background with Guyana. I don't know anything about this country, and I'm worried that I'm gonna kind of hurt the team here because I know so little, and that was never a problem. I was given plenty of information and all of the tools that I needed to be successful, and I think it ended up better than I thought it would. So
Great to hear. And a really important point of just realizing that no matter who you are, you can always bring value to a team. And Maddie, it sounds like you really did on this course and the project that you worked on. Cooper, let's go with you next on this one.
This is the slide I've been waiting for. I've been waiting the whole time just for this. But my advice would be just do it and apply. I think that now's the time, right? It's virtual. You're at Ohio State. The programs are out there and available for you, and also ask questions. The amount of email strings that Dominic and I had before applying, after applying, and leading up to when I took the second session course might have been close to 20 or 30. Like, the amount of questions I asked and just insight I wanted was insane. And I maybe don't go to that extent, but also I just had a lot of questions and I was super, super interested in it. And it also, like the program Hattie did last summer, I'm doing the consulting this summer, and then I'm looking to go and study abroad again next spring. So I got the taste of an international experience, and now I just want to go back and have more and more and more. And so, like, I would totally just say, just go out there, do it, apply, ask questions. You won't regret it. And the virtual component seems a little scary at first. I know I was definitely nervous going into my first meeting, like not knowing anything about like what I knew what the company was, but I hadn't interacted with any of the people. I'd never worked with a startup before. That was another thing for me that I had to overcome. Was it wasn't a traditional corporate business setting that I had heard so much about. So just the nerves will be there, but once you get involved, the people are there to support you. The people in the obstacle business are there to support you. Like, and if you have questions, just ask.
Great. Cooper, if I can add on to your point there, every single global education specialist at Ohio State, like, we are all here to answer your questions. We love getting emails from you. We love when you call us. We love when you're curious about these programs, and never ever feel like you're a burden. We are here to answer your questions and make sure you have the program that's right for you and that you're prepared for your program. Awesome. So Bayan, let's go with you next on this one.
Yeah, I think reiterating like the questions, like you can just ask so many and just really build a relationship with people. For me, the hesitant was that what's it called? It was like money and like just I don't know if it's gonna fit. I'm a working student. I have other obligations, and the virtual really gives you that opportunity to kind of just play with what you want, find a program that actually fits. Like with a broader, like they literally said, what time are you interested in? Like, do you want to do morning days, after days? Like, we're just trying to find a program that fits you, like pick what topic or what area you're interested in. So I just feel like there's so many options, especially like for people who are just like, maybe I'm still, I don't know if virtual, I don't even know if international is what I want to do. This really gives you an experience, a very easy light breeze experience to dig your feet into it and just give it a try. for students who might be hesitant, I definitely think talking, joining panels like this and talking to other people about their experiences, kind of just learning from people will really help you out and just kind of show you that it's a lot bigger than you probably thought.
Great, thank you. Hattie, have you close us out on this question?
Thank you. So I think the reason I applied last year is because I joined kind of an info session just like this, hearing about all the great opportunity and feedbacks from all the past students, alumni from the global projects, and it really kind of confirmed my decision to apply. And I think for most students, they have two things they have to think about, like financial and the kind of unknown, the afraid of unknown. And the financial kind of, it's really easy to make a solution because there's a lot of opportunity in OSU, in OIA, in Fisher, like grants, scholarships. There are always faculties that are willing to work with you about the financial side. And I think for the unknown, like because a lot of my friends who participate, this is their first project or they're only freshmen, they do not have a lot of like experience, but they still gain a talent because you're not doing it alone. There's a whole cohort of students who are participating. There's the program director who can help you. There's a kind of like global partnerships that can help you with you. So I definitely encourage any students that will hesitate about engaging, definitely do it. And for the virtual aspect, I would say virtual definitely help. Me being as a degree, I often have to take some more classes every summer, and having a dual virtual program really kind of give me the time and be able to kind of really put things into perspective, take some unsynchronized course, and be able to fully participate in the virtual program as well. Yes. Last but not the least, I would say there's something I want to talk about, but yeah, it just slipped my mind, but it's okay. I will answer it later.
That's okay. We can always come back to it if you think of it. But Hattie, you do bring up a great point, especially with cost of programs. I mean, any global experience, whether you're in person or virtual, really is an investment in yourself, your future. I mean, you've all clearly demonstrated that you've learned something, you've added value to teams you've worked on, added value to the countries and companies you've worked with. And I want to tell any students who might be on the call and listening and thinking, maybe I don't have the funds to participate in a program like one of the ones that we heard. OIA has an entire website page of grants and scholarships. Some of them are specific to virtual programs. So we're always happy to talk through those options with you as well. We would hate to see money be the reason that you didn't pursue something that you really wanted to do. And Hattie, did you think of your?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Jenna. And there's really a wide range of like global virtual experience you can have. Like listen to Cooper, he's working with a startup. For me at a time, I want to work with a big name company, and you all have like more than 50,000 employee worldwide. So it's all about kind of like making your own experiences, and definitely there's so much more you can do within just like a very short time frame during the summer or just a semester. Yeah.
Thank you. So now let's turn it over to our audience for Q&A. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A. It looks like we do have some already. So have you had this experience lead to other opportunities on campus or stronger connections with faculty? And I will open this up to whoever thinks they might have a good answer for it.
I can kind of take this one a little bit. Yes, for sure. So this experience, again, I went through the route. I was also very worried about like money and stuff, but I was able to talk to Jenna, and she's really become like one of my mentors and just helping me out with different internships and kind of leading me to the new internship, which I'm going to do this summer, hopefully another one abroad in person. It really does set you up to kind of like not being scared to ask faculty and stuff, because you're just so used to emailing them and be like, all right, can I talk? Can I ask? Like it really like, you're just like not like afraid anymore to just throw your questions and just find different programs to connect to. So yeah, it definitely has made my relationship with faculty a lot better.
Thank you. Anyone else on this one?
I can second that. To start, I had also quite a few email chains with Aaron, actually, and we had discussed a couple options, and he recommended this course that I ended up taking, and I'm so glad that I did. And then once I was in the course, because we had such a small class, I was able to have one of the strongest connections I've ever had with a professor here at Ohio State, you know, because sometimes you can get sucked into a class and you never even talk to the professor. So they were really helpful, and I feel like I could still reach out to them and ask them for anything. And one of them leads a different study abroad course that I had shown interest in. So I am pursuing that with that professor. So yes, I would definitely think these courses lead to strong connections with faculty and other people around campus.
Anyone else?
Yes, so for the Fisher Global Project and the Consulting Project, you will be taught by Dominic in session 2. And at that time, I was able to learn a lot from each of the session, each of the lecture. And also Fisher has an Office of Career Management, OCM, and each kind of like different department has kind of a career management office. Normally a lot of, especially underclassmen, won't be visiting there or like take a look at the resume very often in the career offices. But definitely being able to participate kind of really bring me more close to both the faculty in the Office of Global Engagement and the OIA as well. So definitely I would say I remember at that time last semester, I also participated in a global consulting case competition. Like for all of the students we have never met before, but we are trying to represent OSU in a global case talk. And we are asking Dominic, oh, if you can give us some suggestions. And in the end, like we put this through virtually and won the whole competition out of like all the international teams. So definitely I would say there's huge amount of opportunities and like to kind of like grow that kind of personal relationship and gain a lot of like resume things throughout this global projects.
And yeah, I'll touch on the other half of that question about using the opportunity to kind of be a springboard for other opportunities. I think that any international experience just makes you a more interesting person overall. You're getting this perspective of life that you might not always consider while working here in the United States. And so getting to see how other people live, how business is done in other countries, how people act in other countries, right? That's something that not everybody gets to see, and that's come up in conversations, and it really has helped me grow my global acumen as well. So I think that's been one of the biggest benefits for myself. And then using that opportunity, it's came up in interviews. People are always interested to see like, oh, you did a remote internship with a startup in Ireland. What does that mean? Like, tell me more. And so it's always been, since the experience, a great talking point, and it has helped me get interviews and connect with business professionals in a way that I wasn't able to beforehand, because not every 20-year-old has gotten startup experience. And so, and just along with finding mentors and stuff like that, I've used inside OSU and outside OSU. I know Dominic we've chatted at least once a semester, just a quick overview since even before I was enrolled at Ohio State or before I had started my freshman year. And then it has helped me find other mentors who just around the Columbus area in the tech scene, just saying, I've worked with a startup, I've done this, I've done that. It's helped me kind of branch out and market myself in other ways as well.
Thank you for that. Our next question is, how do the costs of virtual programs compare to in-person programs? I think I'll start with this one. I know we did touch a little bit on funding opportunities. I think when you go on our website, it's important to remember when you're looking at program prices to realize what it includes. Even if you're looking at in-person programs, you know, some might include your round trip airfare, some might not. Some might include your housing, some might not. in general, I would say that the cost of virtual programs is going to be significantly less expensive than an in-person program. I guess I want to open it up to our panel. Is there anything about affordability that you would want to tell our audience, or any experiences that you had in that way? I know we've touched on this a bit already.
There's a lot of scholarships available, especially like specific virtual ones. You know, originally you just think that the scholarships are for in-person, which they are scholarships for in-person as well. There's like she said, it's significantly cheaper. One thing I like to joke around that when you're doing virtual, you're not spending money, you know, eating or shopping at another country. You're kind of saving that for you to have. So it's definitely on the cheaper side with the spending of your own personal money. So
Yeah, I will agree. Since a lot of like in-person kind of global opportunity, there's the housing, there's the airplane tickets, where some scholarship will cover that and some won't. But for the virtual, you kind of like eliminate at least like more than half of those kind of budget, and you'd be able to still work with person, especially more on a one-on-one basis, because you're talking to the founder, talking on with the supervisor on Zoom, like every time, or like Teams, very personally, and you'll be able to have those kind of conversation each time.
Yeah, the flexibility of the virtual internships makes the cost really manageable, because you're allowed, not like you wouldn't be allowed, but you're able to have another job outside of the internship as well, because just with planning and flexibility, you can do your work and choose your times. I'm pretty sure that's kind of how it was for everybody. And so I was able to have another job outside of my experience, and that helped me basically pay for like the outstanding amount after scholarship. So I like made that money back very quickly, and then was able to basically make money still, if that's a component as well.
Awesome. So another question for any or all of you. Many of you have talked about balancing maybe an internship or a class and another job, and all of your other responsibilities, in addition to your student life. What about that was difficult for you, or what was easy for you in being able to manage multiple things at once? And anybody is welcome to hop in on this one.
I guess, do you want to go, Cooper? I'll let you.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I was gonna say kind of getting into a schedule was kind of a little bit chaotic, just because I was working another job as well. And so like getting all my schedules coordinated in the first 2 weeks of my internship was a little bit of chaos. But then once I got settled in, everything went so smoothly for the last 6 or 7 weeks. Like it just was, I had my internship and then I had work, and it just was so perfectly blocked off that it made my life super easy. I was still able to hang out with friends and be with my family, etc. And I know that that's kind of how it is for most people. And I just like to think about it how I was like starting another semester at school, how those first 2 weeks are always kind of a little bit chaotic, getting your classes in order, how much work you need to do, your cadence, stuff like that. It was very similar to that in that sense. And then after a little bit, everything just kind of went very smoothly. So
I can bounce off of Cooper. Yeah, I had a lot that summer. I had this internship, which was like 3 hours in the morning. And then I had a full-time job right after that. I worked Monday through Friday. And then I also had the night portion of the internship on certain days of the week. So it sounds like a lot, and it was. I did have, a couple difficulties in the beginning, like, oh my gosh, do I really have time to like, get all my lessons in order and stuff like that. But once you like worked with the team and got used to the weeks, and the support that you get really helps you kind of balance your schedule, balance your time. So yeah, like by the end of like my internship was 8 weeks long, so it was a while. Like after like the third or fourth week, I was pretty much set. It was just a great experience.
The course that I took was 3 credit hours, but that was simply because the course itself was once a week and it was 3 hours. but we pretty much did everything in class and hardly ever had anything to do outside of class other than towards the end of the semester when we would work on the actual project. And I was kind of hesitant to add the course because I had already had a heavy load that semester, but it really didn't add that much other than the 3 hours once a week. So I am glad that I took on that extra time.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, like after the final, like it's summer, you just want to sleep in and just like set yourself loose. And I'm really glad that I'd be able to like after the final, I think it's like week 2 or week 3 that we're jumping to the consulting program already. So like I need to wake up at least 8 or 9 a.m., which is something that really great because it kind of pushed me to have a better schedule starting the summer and continue in the global internships because sometimes we have this kind of pretty early 9 a.m. meeting with the Singapore team. So it really kind of keep me to have a really healthy and balanced schedule throughout the whole summer. And I think especially when you're working with a country in a different time zone, definitely there's a lot of flexibility. Sometimes it's about like more trying to engage more in an email sending or figure out a time frame that works for both party. But definitely it won't be there won't be too much like load for each person. For example, for the global project, I think it's about like 20 hours per week, which is very manageable.
I am thoroughly impressed by all of your time management skills and how much you're able to keep on your plate. I know that's many college students out there, but it never ceases to amaze me. All right, I think we have time for just this one last question. So do you have plans for another global program or global travels in your future?
I can start. Yeah, I have 2 good news. One is I already applied for this year global consulting project. The result hasn't been out yet, but hopefully I will be able to participate that either virtual or in person. The other good news is I got an internship offer, actually 2 internship offer, and in both internship offer I talk extensively about what I did last summer, which is the both global projects. So definitely I would love to participate more in the global projects in OSU.
Amazing. Thank you, Hattie. Who's next?
I did actually apply for another study abroad course, specifically an engineering study abroad course. Unfortunately, it was just recently canceled because of COVID, so that is still kind of in effect. But I did have the intention of continuing my studying abroad courses because I did really enjoy the first one.
Sorry to hear that, Maddie, but I'm glad to hear you still have interest in global anything. I hope you'll continue to do that moving forward.
I'm also planning on hopefully this summer going abroad. I got accepted to the OSU program called Educational, Cultural, and Linguistic Engagement in Oaxaca, Mexico. So it's a really cool. I get to go spend 5 weeks in Mexico and really get to teach English again in a more in-person environment. So I'm really excited.
And like I've mentioned before, will be participating in the Fisher Global Consulting Project in Paris this May, which is awesome because I finally get to go abroad and use the French skills I've spent the last 5 years practicing. I'm still not very good, but like hopefully this will help me become a better speaker, a better global citizen, and just a better person overall. And also I intend to do a semester study abroad next spring. Like I said earlier, I just can't get enough of the global opportunities. It's just really something I've wanted to pursue my whole life and maybe even look into a career of that afterwards. Not sure yet. I'm only 20, not going to make that decision right now, but it is something I'm totally interested in.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that the experiences that you've had have clearly had an impact on your interest in doing global activities in the future. I hope that each and every one of you gets the opportunity to continue being a global citizen and taking all of your skills abroad with you. So as far as time goes, I wish we could I've totally been enjoying this conversation. I wish we could stay here all afternoon to hear about your experiences. But we're unfortunately out of time. But thank you, Bayan, Maddie, Cooper, Hattie, for your time today and sharing your experiences. We really appreciate you. I especially appreciate you in terms of sharing your experience with students. You know, I can stand here and talk all day, but it's much more convincing when they hear directly from you. So I hope that if you are in our audience today and you are a student, that you've been maybe inspired to pursue a virtual global experience this summer. And we would really encourage you to apply to our upcoming May program. It's called Global Education in Istanbul, Turkey. This is a 4-credit-hour online course that offers virtual education abroad in Istanbul. It includes immersive experiences such as virtual reality visits, online discussions, collaborative projects, and many other cultural aspects of Turkish culture that you can explore. You can find more information on our website here, and applications are going to be due on April 19th. If you are a faculty or staff member who maybe is curious about designing a new global program, we do have the Coil and virtual exchange learning community. And all participants in this community will receive support in learning how to create new opportunities, as well as receive a $1,500 grant to support the course development. Applications for this program for faculty and staff are going to be open until March 7th. And again, if you have any questions about global education at Ohio State, virtual or otherwise, feel free to reach out to us at globaled@osu.edu or visit our websites listed here. So thank you again for attending. We hope to help you all go abroad in the future and help you in your future global endeavors. Have a great afternoon, everyone.